Hello, my name's Suzane Vassallo and I'm the Core First Year Coordinator for Health Sciences courses in the College of SHE. This little video is a brief instruction about how to apply for Advanced Standing. Advanced Standing is also called Recognition of Prior Learning, and it's a means by which you can receive credit for studying and passing subjects at another tertiary institution. Those subjects should be considered to be equivalent to a subject here at La Trobe University. One of the good things about Advanced Standing is that it might actually in some courses help you progress through your course a little bit quicker because you've already demonstrated knowledge in particular areas that we need not assess you on again. We need to look at how this applies to the Core First Year, and this is what the Core First Year looks like for most health sciences courses. There are variations on this, however, so for example, some courses may not have a free elective in either semester, and so you would need to think about those subjects for your course. However, I just wanted to take you through the core subjects to give you an overview of what they look like. These little modules that are listed up here are actually not core subjects per se. They're actually subjects that all students coming to La Trobe University need to complete. They're fully online modules and they have quizzes in them which you then need to complete online and pass. And once the modules are passed, they do appear on your academic transcript. The academic integrity module really is to expose you to methods by which you can avoid plagiarism or cheating in submission of your assignments or essays or even in exam conditions, and it's something that we need for you to be aware of. The Wominjeka La Trobe module is really about introducing students to Indigenous Australian history, culture and customs. And again, it's a fully online module that we are hopeful that you'll complete by the end of week 2. Human Biosciences A is about human physiology, and for example, it will cover things like major organ systems, metabolism and nutrition. Introduction to Professional Practice is about professional practice within an Australian healthcare context. So we consider aspects like professionalism, professional behaviour and identity, cultural literacy, interprofessional practice, and we also in this subject look at academic writing skills which will carry you forward in your time here at university. Individual Determinants of Health is another semester 1 subject, and it really is about psychology and psychological approaches, foundation knowledge in working with individuals in a health setting. And then there is a free elective. In semester 2, Human Biosciences B is actually about human anatomy, and we look at multiple body systems within that subject. The research subject is an interesting one, and it's more than just about statistics. So if you've studied a subject previously that is statistics, you can certainly submit that for an assessment. However, it may not be enough. This subject really is about how to search databases, how to find credible evidence, how we determine that the evidence is credible, how we can read the literature and make sense of the findings that are presented to us. And that's the subject in its context. Social Determinants of Health is actually about sociology and sociological behaviours, and we look at factors such as education, social class, gender, ethnicity, and their influence on access to and use of resources in a healthcare context. Now that's a very simple overview, but you can actually search for any subject you want via going through the La Trobe webpage, and I might just show you that very briefly. So if we go to the La Trobe webpage, if I wanted to look up Human Biosciences B, I can do a search for that and find the 2016 handbook entry, and you can see here that the subject description is actually very well laid out. And one of the other things you can do is look at the subject learning outcomes to see if in fact you might have covered that in a previous subject elsewhere. And that would really help inform your decision about whether you really are eligible for Advanced Standing or not. So that's a really quick way of checking all of the subjects before you apply for Advanced Standing, because it might actually make your application go a little bit faster in its review. We're at the university bound by policies, procedures and guidelines, and these are all the policy, procedure and guidelines that surround Advanced Standing. And you don't actually have to read them, but I just want you to be aware that that's That's where we work from in assessing these applications. Also, I just wanted to show you some things in these guidelines that I think would be of interest to you. One of the things that I just wanted to highlight, because it's something that I face quite commonly, is the time limits on prior learning. So for the most part, we don't generally grant credit for students who apply for advanced standing if their previous subject was completed more than 10 years ago. And so that's something you need to be aware of in your application. You can certainly submit it, but it might be rejected on those grounds. Only time that I tend to sort of take any of that into consideration is if you can show that in that more than 10-year period that you have applied that knowledge in some context. So say you've completed prosthetics and orthotics degree more than 10 years ago, but you've actually worked in that field beyond that time and shown that you can apply that knowledge. That actually is very useful information for me to know. So if you're in that situation, it wouldn't hurt for you to also submit a curriculum vitae or a resume with your application so I can actually see what your working history is like. And that would be very, very helpful. So you can certainly have a look at this and see what we actually need to work within the confines of. The other one I wanted to show you was the procedure. And if at any point you're actually not happy with the assessment that's been undertaken, and for the most part I do most of the assessments, you can certainly have your decision reviewed, and I certainly encourage that. I review many applications going into the year, and although I'm mostly accurate, I might have missed something. And even though in the procedures here it says that you are to apply to the University Ombudsman for review, I would actually encourage you to come back to me in the first instance, because it might be something simple that we can actually look at. If we exhaust all of that discussion, then you're more than welcome to go ahead for review. So I'll let you browse through those in your own time. In order to apply for advanced standing, it's pretty much a 4-step process. You need to download and complete the application for advanced standing form. And even though I've put the hyperlink in this presentation, you can always just go back to the university webpage and type in forms. And this little link is actually very useful to have, and it relates to enrolment. And here it is, application for advanced standing. And you can access it that way. You download the form, you complete it, and to it you attach a certified copy of your transcript from your original institution. Now it must be certified. You can do certification at police stations, pharmacies. If, however, you're on campus, you can actually attend the Ask La Trobe counter. The staff can take a photocopy of your original application and cite it themselves and hand back the original to you. So that's possible as well. Step 3 is also extremely important. I need for you to attach a subject learning guide to the application so I can see in fact what the subject you studied was actually about, and that will help me to determine its equivalence. Just putting in a transcript and having me assess it might work sometimes, but for the most part having a complete application really does make the process far more efficient. Then to lodge your application, you can do it in person at your Ask La Trobe counter. If, however, you are off campus, you can certainly upload your application online. You just need to make sure that you've taken a really good scan of that document and you can upload it. And you go through Ask a Question and you type in your name, ID, all your details, and then in your question you might say, please find attached my advanced standing application for assessment. And then you would attach your document to this and send it on. And that's how you do it if you're off campus, and you can do that at any point in time. So they're the 4 steps to doing it. These are the things that I would like for you to consider when putting your application in, because it makes our job much quicker for you, and we don't want you to be without an answer for too long. Please make sure that your forms are legible, that I can read your phone number if I need to contact you, that the forms are fully complete, and by that I mean you do have a subject learning guide, that the request for the subject you want credit for is absolutely clear, and that you have certified transcript. So I just want to show you an example of an application that I've put together that I would consider to be complete. So this is Joanna Smith. Student number is complete. The phone number is absolutely important. The form doesn't ask for your email address, unfortunately, so I can't see what that is, but I can certainly contact you if I get stuck. The course that you're in, so this student is in podiatric practice, so podiatry, and that's the course code. If you don't know the course code, you can certainly get it off the website. when you search for your course online. This hasn't been ticked, but this course is actually at Melbourne campus only, I know that for certain. So the student has put in the previous institution that she studied at, which is ACU, the subject code and the subject name that she's previously studied. And this is the subject she thinks that she would, it matches to, and that she'd like to apply for credit for. So it's really important that you know what the subjects are that you're going to do so that you can match them to the subjects you've done before. And then she has ticked the boxes as required, and then she signed it in. Leave the second page of the form blank. This is the transcript that has been attached, and I can see that she has studied functional anatomy and that it has been passed with a distinction, which is good, because sometimes I do see that subjects aren't passed. So please don't submit an application if you haven't passed the subject, because it will be rejected. And this is a fully certified transcript, which is good. And here's the subject outline, which is the document that would be great if you can attach. It tells us the hours of study, the learning outcomes that were achieved, the graduate attributes that the students achieved during their course, the content, which is really great because we can have a look and see what was covered. It's really wonderfully detailed. And the one that I really like is just the lecture schedule. So I can see the topics as they were covered, the reading material, and just the activities over the course of the semester. The other thing I find useful is really the nature of the assessment, so I can see in fact whether that's equivalent as well, and whether we'll get you to the same learning outcomes here as you have had there. And then a breakdown of what the grading system is. There are different grades generally applied at different institutions, but don't be too worried by that. I can work through that and make an assessment. Okay, so that's a wonderfully complete application. It's legible. I can read it. I can do that very quickly and certainly tick that off. And I'll assess whether that subject is in fact equivalent or not to HBB. All right, so that's the application in full. Other points I just want to make out is that I assess the first year applications, and I generally do that in consultation with the first year subject coordinators so that we do confer on the decisions to make sure we get you the best result. You'll be notified of an outcome really via Ask La Trobe. So when you submit through Ask La Trobe, which is what you should do, all correspondence comes via them. And really important, in fact, that you've actually checked your La Trobe email regularly, because that's where all of our correspondence is sent to students. Now, it really depends the length of time it takes to hear a response in relation to your advanced standing. If the forms are complete, I really can do them extremely quickly. One of the issues I'm finding recently is that students have been photographing their transcripts, and I find that that sometimes isn't legible when students do that because the lighting isn't good and I actually can't see some of what's been submitted. So a good quality PDF scan is the best way to submit your documents. There are various peak periods that we go through in the first year, namely during orientations. There might be a delay in that period of time, but I will certainly do my best to get it to you within about 3 or 4 days, maximum 2 weeks. The earlier you get it in and the better complete it is, the easier it will be for me and the faster the turnaround time. So, as I just mentioned, please be sure to get your application in as soon as possible if you are seeking advanced standing. The cut-off, the absolute cut-off for submitting an advanced standing application is, for semester 1 at least, is Tuesday the 29th of March. We can't take new applications after that point. You can apply for credit for both semester 1 and semester 2 subjects straight away. If you'd like to wait to semester 2 to apply for your semester 2 subjects, that's okay as well. For the most part, I'd encourage you to just put the whole year in advance, and then that helps you work out where you're headed with your course. We'll talk about internal course transfers as the year goes on in a bit more detail, but the thing that I really need for you all to be aware of is that when you apply for advanced standing, it will affect, in fact, your WAM score, which is your weighted average mark, to apply for a course transfer. All I want to say at this point in time, for the purposes of this presentation, is that when we give you credit for a subject that you've studied previously, we use the score for that subject that you've studied in order to calculate your results here for transfer into another course. So if you would like to transfer into another course after your first year and you feel that you didn't do too well in your previous anatomy subject, you may want to repeat the subject again at La Trobe and not apply for an advanced standing for that subject. And that's something you might want to consider going into your course. So please be aware of that. And the last thing I wanted to say is that all correspondence for all students go through Ask La Trobe. So there's one central system in order to communicate. And I would ask that you go through them first. If I need additional information from you, I can phone you or I can go back to Ask La Trobe. I will likely phone you, so please make sure your details are up to date on all student systems. You can also call Ask La Trobe on the 1300 number. The online system is always available for you to ask a question, so you go to current student and ask a question via this forum, which is what we saw before. So I just wanted to thank you for listening to that and encourage you to get your applications in as soon as possible and be sure that they're accurate. Good luck, and I'll see you around during the year.